what's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Literally Nothing But Everything podcast with the one and only Mike Rispoli. And for a second there, I thought this episode was going to have to be literally nothing but no podcast because I was having trouble getting the friggin' recording going. So I apologize for putting this episode out a day late, but hey, I'm doing this for free. So so even if this is coming out a day late, which I am sorry for, you're still getting your money's worth. Like, honestly, this is a shit podcast, so therefore you're going to get it for free. Like, nobody's going to pay for shit unless you're an asshole and you want to go on a submersible to the Titanic. But no joke, every time I tried to record something, a message kept popping up, and it just kept saying the same shit. What you're trying to do requires this amount of space, but you've only got this amount of space, so no. And I'm just like, I just bought the extra storage. So why is my laptop now telling me that I need space? And every single time I tried to hit record, and it just would not happen. I mean, I was emptying my trash can, getting rid of some shit out of my downloads folder. Honestly, though, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I've had this laptop for a while now, so there was a bunch of old shit that I had to get rid of, so I was able to comb through that and hit delete, which was honestly, like, a little therapeutic in a weird way. It was a little bit like, I don't know, the only thing I can compare it to is maybe spring cleaning or, like, going through your closet to get rid of old clothes and getting ready to donate them. Hopefully you donate them and you don't just throw them out in the trash, you assholes. But when that message thing saying you don't have enough space pops up, like, what do you do? Does anybody have any advice for me? Because it says I had free storage. So I don't know where the loss of the storage was. So I feel like it's a scam that Apple does. And it's just another way for them to get you to pay for something that you didn't necessarily need. You know, when it comes to Apple, Bill Burr said it best. Freaking same phone, new charger. So, fucking capitalism at its finest here. Oh my god. So, other than that, I don't know what I'm going to talk about this week. So, this one's going to be kind of a rough one. Let's see if I can even make it to 30 minutes. It might be a shorter episode here, guys. I'm not going to lie. We are straight up winging it this week. But I am currently sitting on my parents' guest room floor doing this podcast rather than in my office because I'm pet sitting for them while they're away. Oh, why don't you go do it on, like, the kitchen table or something? Because, you know what? I didn't want to fucking go back downstairs. I brought my laptop upstairs. I didn't feel like going back downstairs. And the dog is sleeping on the guest bed next to me. She's knocked out. She's happy. If you hear snoring, don't blame me. Well, you're telling me that you never had that situation where it's just like, ugh, I don't feel like getting back up. So you just do what you can? I saw this one thing on TikTok. I think it was a Reddit story where the person was like, tell me your laziest story. And I think somebody's story went along the lines of like, I called my mom to come into my room just so she could turn off my light for me. And I'm just like, that is just a level of laziness that I've yet to adhere to. But you know what? I'm open to explore some options. So what happened in the news? Oh, fucking Taylor Swift's album dropped. And you know, I wouldn't necessarily consider that news, but at least it's better than just constantly talking about fucking World War III. At least it's something a little bit fun, even if you don't really give a shit about it. At least it's something different other than just, oh, World War III on the horizon, haha. Bruh, horizon? Motherfucker, hashtag World War III trending. I mean, say what you want, but you've got all these countries testing all of their nukes, and it's not for no reason. And I mean, yes, I understand that there's testing regularly with nukes just to make sure that they work or whatever the fuck it may be. Somebody wanting to maybe use it as a threat or whatever. But the fact that everybody now is collectively like testing and threatening and whatever, like, guys, this is going to be the Cold War that turns hot. And you know what the main problem is? All it is, it's a fucking dick shaking contest. It really is. Like, Putin literally just goes into Ukraine just because he's like, look how fucking big my dick is. I'm going to go swing it like a fucking hammer. Watch out, Ukraine. Here I come. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude. And you know, you got Kim Jong-ugly or whatever the fuck his name is over there in Korea just being all like, oh, well, we're going to test our nukes too. Yo, remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever the fuck that was, when he threatened Hawaii? And Trump was just like, yeah, I got nukes too, and mine actually work. I had to look that up. I thought that was just a meme. That was a real fucking quote that he said. I don't give a fuck what you think about Trump. The dude is hilarious. But instead of swinging dicks, we're all just swinging our nukes around like, oh, my nukes are bigger than your nukes, or whoever the fuck. Who cares? Why can we not settle things like a handshake anymore? Like, any sort of civilized deal is always done with a handshake, right? You're not going into some corporate office trying to get a deal done, and they're just like, hey, if you don't do what we want, that box is going to spit out some pretty colors. So why is it like our politics resort to violence? And then it's so funny because all protests now tend to become violent, and then they get pissed off that we're all violent about our protests. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, well, you resolve all of your conflicts with violence, so why can't we resolve what we want done with violence, huh? But no, because then they've got the bigger, better weapons that we're not allowed to use. So all they got to do is just show up, say fuck you, and leave. I got to be honest, I really have not been keeping up with the news in a little bit of time here. And honestly, I feel like my life has become a little bit better because I'm not just sitting there just watching all of this depressing, horrible shit. I mean, you want to talk about depressing, horrible shit? Joe Biden is the definition of an ailing grandfather. I mean, there is definitely a reason that there was cocaine at the White House. And it was literally because coffee wasn't doing the trick for this motherfucker. I mean, Shane Gillis legitimately nailed it on the head when he said that looking at Biden is like watching a Roomba. And it's so funny because I saw a clip while I was scrolling through social media. I think it was a 60 Minutes clip. But Biden was pretty much asked, like, what would you say to Iran if they did something with their nuclear weapons or whatever the fuck the question was? And he was just like, don't. And you know what Iran was probably thinking? The fuck are you going to do about it, Grandpa? Oh my God, there's videos of him like farting like in meetings. You know, if I farted during a meeting, that would definitely be the end of my tenure there because I would see myself out. Nor would any of the friends that I made at that company ever let me live it down. So why does everybody just look past the fact that our president just let one rip in the middle of a summit? But you know what? Maybe he just like hit some traffic or something and he didn't have time to go before he actually had to go to the meeting. But you know, I mean, I feel like that's not an uncommon thing. I mean, hell, now that I'm back in the office, there is no way in Fucksville that I'm going to be taking a shit at work because my bathrooms are all communal. So men and women can go in there, and there is no fucking way in hell that I'm going to be blowing up that bathroom and then having somebody else walk in, man or woman, knowing the fact that I was the cause. There is no way that that is happening. So I always wait now until I get home, and I swear to God, that is the reason why I now hit so much more traffic coming home than going into the office. But you know what's weird is I actually go reverse traffic. So it should be the same, but it's not, and it's kind of pissing me off. But anyways, that was one hell of a tangent. The fuck was I even talking about? Oh, Taylor Swift and her freaking new album. The hell was that thing called again? The Tortured Poets Department. You know, for a billionaire, she sure bitches about a lot of shit. Oh my God. Taylor, are you the tortured poet in this scenario? What are you so tortured about? If it's about your dating life, I mean, at what point do you actually look upon yourself? I don't know what the fuck that was. This is why I can't have nice things. I just constantly knock shit over. The fuck was I talking about? Oh, Taylor Swift. Fucking, at what point does it take you to look on yourself and be like, yes, I am actually a glutton for punishment here. Like, this is actually my fault. I shouldn't have stayed in the relationship so long. I mean, who was that guy that she was with for like 8 years? The guy before Travis. I think it was Travis, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Fucking maybe 2 guys before Travis. I don't fucking know. Who gives a flying fuck? Because it's not me. Well, then why are you talking about it so much? Well, shut up. But yeah, I actually tried to listen to her album. I really couldn't get through it. Tortured Poets Society. The only tortured poets were the poor souls who decided to listen to this damn thing. I didn't even get through the whole thing. I had to listen to it in stages. And what I mean by stages is I listened to maybe 3 songs in like 30-second increments because I wasn't really a fan of the music in general. I was wrong. I'll admit that I was wrong. The songs did not seem to be about Travis, at least from what I heard. They all seem to be about previous relationships. I don't know. Maybe like I haven't listened to the album. I might have to actually listen to it just so I can give you some like true information here. But based on what I'm going to be predicting, based on what I've heard, is the songs are all going to be about her ex-boyfriends and what the relationships did and how she was able to like overcome bullshit. I don't know. I just can't bring myself to listen to it. You know what? I actually had the same thought process listening to this album that I did when I was trying to watch the show Love is Blind. I'm just like engaging in these pieces of content, just going like, I can feel my brain cells just deteriorating. Oh my God, Love is Blind. I didn't even make it through like 2 episodes of that. I don't even know how long each episode was, maybe an hour. And I don't even think I got through the first episode, if I'm completely honest. It actually took me like a full week just to try to get through half of whatever episode it was that I was watching. And I could only watch it in like 5-minute increments because I'm just like, this is just so painfully stupid. And you know what? Of course, none of those relationships are going to work. I don't know if any of them have. If they have, good for them. But you know what? We live in a very vain society nowadays. I'm a very vain person. I'm willing to fucking admit that. And you know what? If I'm not attracted to the person, I'm not fucking the person. Oh, well, you know, beauty is only skin deep. Yeah, well, you know what? That's the part that I'm fucking. You don't fucks personality. You fucks with personality. Now, what happens if somebody's like me and they're both ugly and have a shitty personality? Are you nice and you just say, oh, you know, we just didn't mesh? Or do you say the funnier thing and go, yeah, you know, a dog wouldn't even want to lick that person's face? But you know, all right, so since I was wrong about Taylor Swift's album, I figure it would also be a good time to talk about other areas that I was wrong, because I had somebody reach out to me and tell me that I needed a fact checker. And I believe he was talking about my last episode where I was talking about George Washington being a Whig. But all right, so I'm going to read to you guys what he wrote in. And he said that Washington wasn't a Whig, he was an independent until he died. He also said that political parties in the sense that you're talking about didn't really exist by the time he left office. Quote-unquote parties typically refer to organized, established political movements. And then he goes, it's a bit confusing, I know. Yeah. So, okay. So, I was wrong in the sense that I said that Washington was a Whig. Fact check true. He actually was an independent, but at that point, it was Federalists and Anti-Federalists, and I completely forgot about the Federalist Anti-Federalist movement, which was the movement prior to the Whig Party. The Federalists became the Whigs, and then the Whigs became the Republicans once Lincoln came in office. And I believe the people who were fighting against them were the Anti-Federalists. I know, how original. And they turned into what I believe became the Democratic Republicans, who then turned into what is now called Democrats. However, that's not to say that Washington was a total independent, because he is known for being more aligned with the Federalist Party at the time. So, to say that there was no political parties were beginning to form. Plus, they had a name for the two sides already, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Bravo on the names. But like, I don't know, they were already seeming to become recognizable. So just because they weren't organized, that also qualifies them as not being an official political party? Nothing back then was fucking organized. I mean, the only reason they put Washington in there is just because he led the revolution. Like, Washington, I don't even think wanted the job initially. Like, nobody knew anything what they were doing back then. But I looked some stuff up. From what I looked up, the Federalist Party came into existence between 1789 and 1790, which is right at the beginning of Washington's first term, a little into his second. So, the Federalist Party came into being as a national coalition of bankers and businessmen in support of Hamilton's fiscal policies, because I think Alexander Hamilton was the initial leader of the Federalist Party. And these supporters worked in every state to build on an organized party committed to fiscally sound and nationalistic government. And I don't know about you, but that seems pretty fucking organized to me. I mean, you got a lot of high-end people all correlating with this fucking one party. So can somebody please explain the definition of unorganized? Because that seems pretty organized. I mean, you have a name, you've got supporters, and you also have ideologies in which you try to abide by that you're going to adhere your policies to that you want everybody else to follow. So, seriously, can somebody please define what they mean by unorganized when it comes to political parties? Because to me, that sounds organized, and it also sounds like Washington was part of a political party himself. But all right, plowing ahead here. So, last week I talked about OJ. And I threw out the conspiracy theory idea that's running around out there. Now, I never said that I had believed it. I'd only heard that there was this rumor. I never even really looked into it. But I had a friend reach out to me and she was like, hey, you might want to look into it. It's pretty interesting stuff. So that's what I did. And I gotta say, there's actually some pretty interesting stuff in here as to how, like, OJ's son might have actually been the murderer rather than OJ. So I had to look up all this stuff. And by looking up, I mean I went to Reddit and Wikipedia. But there was a lot of interesting things that correlated to the murders. So I'm just going to read you guys off what I had found, and you guys be the judge on whether or not you now think that OJ was actually the murderer, because now I legitimately have some questions myself here. But starting off, so I guess OJ's son's name was Jason, and he was maybe around 20 to 25 at the time. And he worked as a sous chef. So that literally means that he had access to knives. But the night of the murder, Jason had a punch-out ticket to clock out at work. That night he didn't use it. So I guess it was a digital service that they used to punch out. But that night he actually had a written in time for the first time ever. I also read that Jason lied about his whereabouts, and he said that he was with his girlfriend. It later came out during the civil disposition that he had lied. He then claimed that he was home alone after work. So why in the fuck would you actually change your story to confirm that you have no alibi? That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. So then I went on to read that during this line of questioning, when it took place, Jason got very nervous and the lawyer asked what was going on. They immediately took a break. They came back from the break and his line of questioning was never revisited. But here's where it gets a little interesting. So that night, apparently Jason was supposed to cook for Nicole and the kids, but Nicole changed her mind and went to another restaurant instead. Now, apparently Jason also had anger issues. And at the time, he was actually on probation for threatening a prior boss with one of his knives. All right. He also threatened suicide to a girlfriend in an argument, and he also stabbed himself. Jason attended the Army and Navy Academy and was trained. When Jason was much younger as a teen, he was in charge of his younger sister when swimming in the pool and no one else was around. She's drowned to death. OJ and his wife broke up soon after. So obviously, not only is there violence in this dude's history, but there's also looming death that seems to also find him wherever he goes. But the one thing that was really interesting to me was the fact that they found a knit cap that was found at the crime scene that was unaccounted for because nobody could figure out what it was for. But the cap apparently had hairs on it, and the hairs belonged to a dog. Now, OJ didn't have a dog, but guess who did? His son. So now things are getting kind of interesting. So, I don't know. Do you think he did it? Do you think OJ might have been innocent? I got some fucking questions now, I'm not gonna lie. I think that's really interesting. I also think it's mad interesting that apparently his kids had to sign an NDA when they went to go see him when he died. So, I don't know. I mean, why has it taken all this time for nobody to question him? Double jeopardy doesn't... It only matters for OJ. So why has nobody looked into Jason? What is Jason hiding? Or what is so important about Jason that he needed to be protected? They just linked OJ to the crime and they were like, oh, that's it, we're done, nothing more to see here. Jason was interviewed, he was a suspect at some point. Why did they just not follow up with it? Did OJ just do that good of a convincing job? I mean, I know he was an actor, but he wasn't that good of an actor. But what's even more interesting is the fact that I actually looked this up. This is a legit thing. Apparently, there was an interview a while back where there was actually a black female juror on the OJ trial, And she basically admitted to the fact that they only let OJ walk just because it was a way to get back at the police for the Rodney King assault. So, maybe it's a good thing that OJ got that type of a jury, because if he legitimately is innocent, and if he is innocent, how bad would you feel considering all the shit we gave that guy? I mean, look at all the memes now coming out because people were too afraid to post him while he was still alive. But alright guys, I'll leave you on that. I know it's only been about 20 minutes. I said this was going to be a shorter episode. I'm kind of running up against time here myself. I got work in the morning. If I was working from home like I used to be, it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. But now I got to get my ass into an office, so I got to make sure I'm up on time. And I genuinely don't know what I'm really going to be talking about for another 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave you guys on that. And you know the drill. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Give me that 5-star rating. Write a review. And if you want to write in, you know where to find me at lndemedia@gmail.com. All right, guys. I'll catch you next week. Have a good one. Bye.